welcome to Anonymators Review. I'm your host, Wesley Boone.
I'm your co-host, Emily Strasser.
And we're going to go into a spoiler mode of Song of the Sea. Emily is a big fan of this film. And she apparently wants to break it down.
I do. I would like to talk about all of the cool things.
Sure, so go ahead and talk about what you want to talk about. I will follow your lead.
Okay, so we should basically just just a quick rundown of the film. The film opens up, you see a very young Ben, who is more or less the protagonist of this film, alongside his sister. And so the mother is very heavily pregnant with the little sister, and they're like, originally Ben is really excited. Oh boy, I'm going to be a big brother. And
at this stage, it's also established that there is sort of a fable as well. Like he and her, Ben and the mom, are busy painting in the new baby room, I would imagine. And it's the fable of the giant who weeped the sea, the ocean.
Yeah. It's old Irish fairy tales, because I do remember taking a class back when I was an undergrad at UNM. I remember taking a class about originally it was like Norse mythology, but we also did a bit of like Irish and Celtic mythology, but I just don't remember any of it, unfortunately. So this was interesting, I think. I do honestly remember, liking some of it, but I guess just the professor just didn't present it in an interesting way to me. But I do remember I really liked the Irish folklores more than I liked the Norse ones for some reason.
Okay. I must be honest, I'm not that familiar with the Irish folklores. I mean, I'm aware of the fairy folk, brownies, goblins, hobgoblins, all that stuff, but...
The heck is a brownie?
I guess it's like a pixie.
Oh, okay.
But different. It's like a type of pixie. I don't know the other. They're just called, I know you think brownie is the snack, but I don't know if you know the Cubs and Scouts.
Yes.
Okay. Back home in South Africa, we had the girl version was called the Brownies.
Oh, okay. That's.
But I don't know if what your Girl Scouts, I guess.
Yeah, Girl Scouts.
Yeah, no, ours was the Brownies and the Scouts.
Yeah, we know the Girl Scouts because they sell the best cookies ever, but they only sell them once a year, much to the dismay of the rest of the United States.
Well, you guys have a lot of seasonal food. It's like, okay.
Hey, most of the good chocolate doesn't show up until Easter anyway.
It's so weird. It's like, just make it available. The rest of the world does.
Yeah, we also don't sell Count Chocula and Boo Berry and Frankenberry until Halloween.
I mean, I guess you make it valuable by only making it available scarcely. Supply and demand. Anyway, we're not here. This is not a Iconoclast. We're here to...
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. So, basically what happens is that the mother, she's having, I guess, contractions or whatever. It's never really explained, but she is in terrible pain, and then suddenly she...
Yeah, because it's implied that the baby's not coming for a while.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, the baby's coming. It's like, okay, that was really freaking quick. You were just saying the baby's not coming.
Yeah,
Plot hole, whole movie ruined, never watch it.
I'm gonna hit you. But, yeah, so... And then somehow... And then it's like... So then the mother she's gone. And it's implied that, okay, the sister exists, and Ben hates her because, in his 10-year-old brain, it's like, well, somehow you were the reason Mom's dead, so now I hate you, which makes a lot of sense when you're a kid.
Well, you can see the change, because while he's with his mom, he's like, yes, I'll be the best big brother ever. And then when he first lays eyes on Saoirse is the name of his sister, his dad is like, here's your new sister, Saoirse. And he's like, where's Mom? And he's like, Dad doesn't say anything, and you can see Ben's immediately like, well, I don't want anything to do with this, because this is obviously the fault of this little baby, and that can happen. I mean, it happens to some people. You know, fathers would blame children for the death of their wives, siblings, death of the mom. It happens sometimes. It's not uncommon, and again, that's why, from what I said in the previous episode, was that you understand where Ben is coming from. You know.
Oh yeah.
And then like when the dad snaps at him, you know, when Ben didn't want to leave the island, the lighthouse island, and he's like, Dad, just let me go, you know, trying to get out, and then his dad just snaps at him, and then Ben like just sitting like, oh geez, you know, I've made my dad angry. And when you have sort of a respect for your parents, you know, it's like when a parent would snap at you and not really explain the emotional distress as to why they're snapping at you. It came off. It was like Ben was like, okay, now you're just shouting at me.
Yeah.
They got all the nuances of the kids' reactions. I felt, at least Ben acted like a child. Saoirse, I don't know what she acted like.
Saoirse was an interesting character because she didn't speak for most of the film.
Yeah, she didn't act like a 6-year-old.
I think it was supposed to be implied that she knew about the fairy world, and she, like, just was born with this knowledge.
Yeah.
But, you know, she couldn't say anything because she, you know, I mean, this is a huge spoiler, but this is a spoiler version, but essentially she can't talk.
Yeah, she's pretty much established as mute at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, and everyone just thinks that, like, because there's nothing physically wrong with her. And, I mean, there's a mention the dad says, oh, the doctor says that she'll learn to talk in her own time.
Yeah.
But in actuality, she...
Well, it's not that she doesn't know how to talk, quote unquote. It's she just won't talk.
Yeah.
Because she understands speech. You know, it's not like
Yes.
she hasn't learned what the words mean.
Yeah. It's, like, she's not mentally or, like, educationally challenged in any way.
Yeah.
She knows, but she mostly chooses not to. And it's actually a huge plot point that she can't say anything until she can sing her song. And there's, like, all these elements that have to go into it in order for her to sing, and that's basically the entire plot of the film. And but anyway, yeah, so, like, on her, what was it, her 6th birthday? Yeah, her 6th birthday, you know, and Ben's being a little brat and, like, shoves her face into the cake. Like, it's obvious. It's not a cute, oh, haha, I'm gonna play a prank on you. It's a very much, I'm going to ruin this special moment for you because I hate the fact that you exist. And it's really cute at the very end where it's Ben's birthday and she does it out of playfulness.
Yeah.
And he just sort of laughs it off, you know?
Yeah, because, well, I mean, it's when you share a sort of a silly memory like that, and you can, again, emotionally realistic. It's like, I understand why I felt I understood why all the characters would act the way that they did.
Yeah.
It was not one unbelievable... I mean, sure, the spirits rising and the fairy folk, sure, unbelievable, yes, but again, I'm talking about from the emotional or the character development standpoint. Like, I understood why the characters did what they did and said what they said.
Yeah.
It was... And that realism put you into the mode of actually wanting to believe the fairy tale. You know, it's like, oh,
It's because you believe the human characters. Like, you believe their reactions and their dynamics between each other. So, like, the fairy folk is just kind of like, oh, well, my suspension of disbelief is already there because I already believe the humans.
Yeah. The humans are so realistic, so why shouldn't anything else be?
Yeah. So, just to push the plot along, so on her 6th birthday... she wants to play there's a shell that was given to Ben by his mother.
Conch shell, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it also acts as a flute. And
I'm not sure if that was established that it was supposed to be a flute shell, or because she gives it to him, she's like, oh, you can hear the sea. But, I mean, the flute holes are quite obvious.
I'm not really sure. I think...
Because he never plays it.
Yeah, but it also, I will point out that it did seem to me that Ben, really, the only reason that Ben still had it was because it was just a material object that he could use to connect with his dead mother. And for Saoirse, it seems like she understands pretty much right away that it's a flute. But Ben just seems to only want it because it was his mother's.
Okay, well, then I think I understand what you mean by Saoirse understanding what she is in the world.
Yeah, because she did a lot in the film that, you know, she was frustrated with Ben. It was like, no, we go this way.
Yeah.
And, you know, Ben's like, no, I'm the big brother. I say we go this way. He only does things because he's the big brother. He only takes charge. Well, Saoirse seems...
She knows what's happening.
Yeah.
She's following what she understands, like, almost, excuse me. She's following, like, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, animals, instinctually.
Yeah.
She's following almost instinctually, and she's like, this is obviously the route to go.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't. He's just doing what he thinks is right.
Yeah.
But again, you don't feel that either character is wrong, because whenever she does lead, they're going the right path and they go on the adventure that they need to go on. Whereas when he leads, it's like he's doing the safe journey that obviously you'd want children to follow, like stay on the bus, get to the bus stops, you know, don't get off the bus and walk through the scary wood. That's not what you want to do. Well, it's not what you should do.
Yeah. Yeah, so, because, I mean, she's able to find the coat without anyone telling her. Like, the father, you remember when she, like, walks, there's, like, a bunch of, like, little mystical sparkles, and they for lack of... lead her down to the chest, which holds her mother, a mystical coat.
Mm-hmm.
And,
the Selkie coat, yeah.
Yeah, the Selkie coat. That no one explains to her this is for her. It was obviously something that was meant to be given to her by her mother.
I don't know, like, was the mom supposed to die when she was born, or...
That is my one nitpick about the film.
Yeah,
but
I just don't understand what the mom-daughter relationship was supposed to be.
I think the idea, like... I think you pointed this out too, where there shouldn't be more than one Selkie, but... I don't know.
That's not established. That's probably my only fault with the film, is I don't understand the Selkie part. Everything else, I'm like, okay, cool. There's just something I don't understand of the legend.
I think the legend is pretty straightforward. It's just, you know, because I've got the Wikipedia open, and I can't really find... I mean, unless if I were to read through the legends, but, I mean, it's just basically, it's a mystical seal that can also turn into a human.
Yeah. Well, there must be a fable, because obviously this is what it's based on.
The only explanation I can think of beyond that is just that because pretty much all of the human characters don't understand the fairy folk world. Like, the fairies have a sort of intricate connection with the earth and its cycles and all of that hullabaloo. And, like, they have a deeper understanding. But to the humans, you know, it's just, they're doing these things, or they're doing things, but the humans just don't understand the idea behind their action. I think the idea behind the mother's death is that the mother, because the mother technically doesn't die.
Yeah, okay, well, I did a quick search here for... so stories concerning... this is a Wikipedia extract. Mm-hmm. Stories concerning Selkies are generally romantic tragedies. Sometimes the human will not know that their lover is a Selkie and wakes to find them gone. Oh. In other stories, the human will hide the Selkie's skin, thus preventing the Selkie from returning to its seal form. A Selkie can only make contact with one human for a short amount of time before the Selkie must return to the sea. Ah. The Selkie is unable to make contact with that human again for 7 years, unless the human steals their Selkie skin and hides it or burns it. I think if they just gave a little context of the actual history behind Selkies, because it's from that it's implied that the mother doesn't die. She just has to go back to the sea, and she is not allowed making contact with him again for whatever magical reason. Whereas with with and certainly a lot of what happens in the story makes sense. It's why he hid her coat from her sulky coat, her sulky skin. So he hid that away from her because he didn't want the daughter to obviously also return to the sea.
Yeah.
But in this story, it's like what, when you burn it, like they stay with you until they die, or do they stay with you and they still have the extended life? Like there's a little bit of the sulky story. I mean, again, it's a fairy tale, but it would have been nice to sort of maybe have some sort of context given to us, because from that sulky fable, the mom didn't die, but the characters act like she died. And did the dad know that she was a sulky? Why would he then hide the daughter's skin if he didn't know she was a sulky? And if he did know she was a sulky, he would have just known that for 7 years it should be gone, because she does show up at the end of the movie for 6 years. But I mean, that's.
I think the dad did know, but he just didn't understand.
Well, when you fall in love, I mean, if your partner leaves you,
for
7 years, it's like it's gonna hurt.
Yeah. I think the dad knew that the mom was a selkie, but he didn't really understand the extent of, like, he's a human, right? He doesn't understand the fairy folk, and the fairy folk don't always understand the humans. It's like they come from these two different worlds, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be the explanation that I would give, is that, like, Saoirse is, sort of the link between the two, if you will. She's half human and also half selkie.
Okay.
So she has a much deeper understanding of the fairy world than Ben or her father do, and especially the grandmother. Basically what she does is she finds her selkie coat, and she turns into a selkie, and she does this whole thing where she dives into the ocean, and then she washes up on shore. Oh, it should be noted that the grandmother comes for Saoirse's birthday. That's why she's there. But then when she is found washed up on shore with her selkie coat, they kind of get really afraid. So out of fear, they decide that the children must not live on the island anymore. They shouldn't have Saoirse anywhere near the ocean, because she could turn into a selkie again. And Dad actually takes the coat and throws it to the bottom of the ocean, because he's just so afraid of losing his daughter after he's lost his wife. They spend a long time. They spend a long car ride. They go into the city. As it just so happens, it's Halloween. And then the fairy folk find Saoirse. And they find Saoirse, just kind of skipping it along, but they find Saoirse, they take her back to, the fairy folk live in this roundabout. This, like, little patch of grass and trees in this roundabout, which was kind of funny. And so the fairy folk inform her that the selkie needs to sing her song for the fairy folk to go home. And they also inform her that a lot of the fairy folk are being turned into... they're being turned in... Sorry, I'm still getting over a cold. Yes. So the fairy folk are being turned into stone by the owl witch Matcha, I believe. Yeah, Matcha. And what she does is she takes her owls. The owls have the jar. They suck out the feelings, and that turns the fairy folk to stone. And so, in order to free them, she has to sing her song and get her coat. But they don't have the coat. And so it's just basically the fairy folk in this part are just exposition, essentially. But they do sing a really nice little jaunty of Dulaman, an old Irish folklore folk song.
Yeah, and I liked it too, because it was that whole sequence also where Ben is hiding behind one of the statues, and he's like correcting them because they've obviously forgotten some of the fables that his mom had told him, told Ben, and then he was reminding them. And like, he's hiding behind the statue, and he's like, "Oh, this is the correction that you need." And then they're looking around, and I enjoyed that little sort of sequence. It was quite funny. obviously those were the comic relief characters, I guess, in some way.
Yeah, but they weren't annoying.
Yeah, no, not
They
at
were
all.
just sort of, you know, they were just sort of there, they were charming, and then they had to go away because the owls came.
Oh yeah, and that whole the owls were terrifying in this.
Yeah,
Well, owls are terrifying in general.
yeah, I guess it depends on who you are. For the most part,
if you're
they
a
just
normal
look...
human being, yes, you'd be frightened of a giant bird of prey.
Well, listen, if an owl was coming towards me, absolutely I would be frightened, but just an owl being an owl, they just sort of look slightly concerned all the time. Yes, so the owls turn the fairies to stone.
They capture their emotions in a bottle.
Yeah. The two take the bus to...
Well, this is also where you find out that where Saoirse, she sings. Right, I believe?
Well, she needs... No.
Or she's just playing with a pipe.
Yeah, she's playing with a pipe.
Conch, yeah. And then when she plays the music, it sort of frees the fairy folk a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so this is where now it's established that, this pipe and Saoirse are magical.
Mm-hmm.
Or the conch, not the pipe. And I think this is also where it convinces Ben a bit more.
Yeah. And
because he's also having a really good time with the fairy folk. He's also like, look, they're fairies, and then he starts telling them the stories that they've forgotten.
Yeah. Because at first they're really like, ooh, a human, you know, but as you would, if you were a fairy living in a underground,
such racism,
okay.
Speciesism.
Yeah, and then so the two kids decide to get on a bus to go back to the lighthouse, and that's where Ben asks Saoirse, "Are you actually a Selkie?" And she just sort of nods, like, "Yeah."
Yeah, like, geez, have you not figured this out?
And so they figure out, okay, now we have to go home and we have to get the coat, because, like, you know, now Ben has an excuse to go home, because as it was established in our last episode, I think. Like, Ben doesn't want to go to the grandmother's house, you know, because he says, as he's basically being shoved in the car, like, it's not my fault, it was Saoirse. It was Saoirse who, you know, went out into the ocean, you know.
Yeah, why am I being punished? Why am I leaving my home and my dog?
Yeah,
because my little sister's being a brat.
Yeah, and...
But again, that's also a very childish way of looking at it. Like, again, I mean, he's like 10 years old in this or whatever. He doesn't completely understand. One thing interesting to note, though, you notice that he loved living in the the lighthouse area, and was constantly had that life jacket on. Like, obviously, completely. I mean, it was established early on that because there's a sequence where, he ends up in the ocean, but it's a very shallow thing, like where even Saoirse, she's like knee high in the water, and he's like drowning in the water, like splashing about, and he's like, "Oh, you almost drowned me." So he's obviously a little hydrophobic, but he would rather live still close to the ocean with his dad and where his mom, I guess,
and
died,
his dog,
than he would then live in the city. You know. He definitely loved the area, at least. It wasn't just the dad and the dog. I think that was his home.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was because... Ben was sort of stuck in that mentality after his mom died, and he wanted to try to hang on to every part of his mom that he could, even if he was afraid of the water. Or maybe the reason he has hydrophobia is because, so far as Ben knows, his mother drowned.
Yeah.
So maybe the hydrophobia didn't happen until after the mother drowned.
It was a...
Because he's never seen wearing, I mean...
traumatic event, you know, I mean, that's how you usually get your phobias, is from some sort of...
Yeah.
Trauma.
Unless
you're a baby who's afraid of needles.
Hey now, we know someone who's afraid of needles.
Babies. All of you. Big babies.
I didn't say I was I'm
babies.
I'm nervous.
Babies. All you needle phobics.
Wesley, we have a mutual friend.
I know, I'm just being... I got a bunch of friends who I got this one friend who tenses up, like, to the point that they cannot even get the needle in her.
Wow.
So, I mean, I'm fully aware of as being a genuine thing. I just like to be a butt. Ow! Don't hurt me. I'm sensitive.
Then don't be a butt.
It's just like sometimes when I go for my injections, I guess what do you call this? Trigger warning. There's going to be some talk of needles for a few seconds, but when I go for my injections, like they have a hard time finding my veins.
Oh gosh.
So, yeah, I get like 100 fucking jabs, and then like sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, we can't use this arm anymore because we've tried too much," and so then they have to use my other arm. And then also it's like jab, 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 jab. I'm like, are you gonna get the vein soon? This is like starting to hurt.
Oh my gosh.
Because it doesn't hurt the initial stab for me. It's like now you're bruising me, and it's like now that's hurting. It's uncomfortable.
I'm very glad that I've got my mother. What was it? My mother one time. My mother and I, we have very blue veins, so they're pretty easy to spot. What was it? My mother once said that she was a phlebotomist's dream. A phlebotomist, for those who don't know, is the person that sticks you with a needle.
Oh, well, I didn't know that, but now I do.
Well, a friend of mine studied to be a phlebotomist, so that's why I know.
Okay.
Anyway, we're talking about the Song of the Sea. You butt.
Back to Song of the Sea.
Yes.
Trigger warning off.
Yes, so basically...
Trigger warnings on my trigger. Sorry, go on.
I'm trying to gush about this.
Domestic abuse.
I'm trying to gush about the film, Leslie.
Oh, she's hurting me, you guys.
Anyway.
Song of the Sea.
Song of the Sea. So the kids get on the bus and they decide that they want to try to take the bus home. But then Saoirse just... insists without using her words that they have to get off. So they get off and Ben's really annoyed. But then they run into Koo, who actually swam across from the lighthouse to go find the kids. Yeah. Run into Koo in the forest. Let's see. And then it starts raining. Oh, and it also should be established that going into the ocean gave Saoirse a cold. And so then it starts raining, and Saoirse starts to get weaker because of her cold.
Yeah, I think that it's a combination. It's also she's like not only getting a cold, but she's also weakening in general.
Yeah, because
like
she
the
is...
magic, I guess, keeping her alive or whatever human is fading.
Yeah. So they they take shelter in a sacred well. Yeah. Where Saoirse actually jumps in.
Yeah, she separates herself from Ben and... Yeah, she jumps in. Where's Koo at this point?
He's with them. He's tied to Ben. Mm-hmm. And then, Koo sees Saoirse jump in the well. He jumps after her. And
Ben
then
frees himself.
Yeah, well...
Is he still afraid of water at this point?
Yeah, he's still afraid of water, and, he's begging Koo not to jump in the well.
Oh, yes, Koo pulls him in.
Yeah.
He doesn't jump in, because he doesn't want to, but then they get separated because the line breaks.
Yeah, and that's...
that's a little animation thing I really liked, was whenever, it obviously was tricks, but whenever Ben would tie the two strings together, to his little belt thing. I just loved the thing that they did with the hands, because it was obviously a particular knot that I'm not that familiar with, but it was they did this thing, and he's like, and then, I don't know what you call the art of doing the string through your fingers, but it was something like that. And I like that little sort of hand gesture. Yeah.
Then they get separated, and...
This is where Ben meets the long-haired ferryman?
Yeah. So, because Saoirse ends up being captured by Matcha's owls, probably because she's so weak. And then Ben meets the great Shianaichi Chai? I forgot. I don't Gaelic.
Yeah, I can't remember how to pronounce that. Shonachai. It's a very particular...
I'm not Irish enough.
Yeah.
I'm not Gaelic.
There's a man that's hair is super, super long.
Yeah, it's...
And every hair strand is a memory of a fairy folk.
Yeah. So he And I love his design. I
also love the whole motion of this character too.
Oh my gosh.
And just jumping in between his strands of his hair and just,
oh gosh, just everything about this scene just made the animator in me just squeal in delight with every second. Because, like, I mean, he's using, when you are introduced to him, he's just a weird guy, like a weird Nomi kind of
very Cousin It.
Yeah, like, you can see the strands of the hair, and they're all in the water, and they're just flowing everywhere, and there's just him in the middle of this pile of hair. And, yeah, so, Ben introduces, Ben finds this guy, whose name I also don't remember how to pronounce. I'm trying to remember. Yeah,
there's not even a pronunciation guide there.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
And he gets a lot of information from the faerie.
Oh, but like back to the animation of this whole sequence. Just him, like, because I mean they make him goofy too, right? Because they do that thing with the character where he goes off screen and then appears somewhere else on screen. I mean, they screw around with the dimensions as they see fit. But it works well with this character because there's hair everywhere. He can. It's implied that he just goes into the hair and then comes out wherever he needs to. And I like that. And there was a lot of emotion. I mean, the acting on this ball of hair, really, it was done so well. I mean, you can just appreciate sort of everything that was really just with the eyes.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so he basically sends Ben on his way.
Mm-hmm. He basically tells him to follow a strand of hair, the hair that is where the story is still being told.
Yeah.
And Ben, like, he comes across the story in which the mother, like, he sees the rest of the story of how the mother, quote unquote, died. He sees it from, the mother, she's, having complications, and she apologizes to Ben, and she just basically goes off into the ocean. And, and then the dad emerges back out of the water after chasing after his wife. But he emerges back out with his newborn child, and you just see him, and he's on the fire, he's got the newborn and cradled in his arms, and he introduces, "This is your new baby sister, Saoirse," and you can just see the look on Ben's face, and he's just like, I immediately don't like this person. I know that she's only lived for like an hour, but I don't like her because somehow she made Mom go away. Yeah. And it's also... I mean,
you're looking at it from like a very naive perspective where it's... This thing appears when Mom disappeared.
Yeah. So,
I guess it's the reason why Mom no longer exists.
Yeah. No. Like, I'm not... Yeah, again, as we said, it's understandable why he thinks that. But he also... This is also the scene in which Ben remembers that he promised his mother that he would be the best big brother ever.
Yeah, and then he also realizes that he hasn't been the best big brother ever.
Yeah. And so then comes a sequence where he meets up with Matcha, the old witch, who also looks like the grandmother, which for some reason, and Matcha actually feels very... Oh gosh, what was the witch from Spirited Away? What's her name?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yubaba.
Yeah, I was going to say Oba-chan, but that means grandmother.
Yes, but yeah, so Matcha is completely obsessed with taking away all the feelings in the world.
Yeah. Because she doesn't want people feeling sad or bad or whatever. And so she does it to herself frequently. Whenever she gets like too angry, she bottles a little of her emotions up, and she's already starting to turn into stone. Yeah,
and so Ben is chased up the stairs into the attic.
Yeah, well, I mean, firstly, let's establish the Matcha character. She, when you first introduced to her, because I mean, up to this point, you're told, oh, she's evil and she's super scary, and like the owls. I mean, the owls are terrifying throughout this whole sequence. They're like constantly trying to hurt people.
Oh gosh, the scene where they're all four of them
trying to break the window like that. Yeah, that's I don't know. I think it's the symmetry that really freaked me out.
But it's because you don't see owls do that in symmetry.
Uncanny, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's introduced. She's like, oh yes, all those old stories paint me in such a horrible light. Actually, all I'm trying to do is protect my son, and that's what she did initially. She was like, the reason why she bottled up the mountain giant's emotions was not because she wanted to turn him into stone. It was because it was like he was so sad.
He cried an entire ocean because he was so
like
sad.
She not only had to protect people, but she also wanted to protect her son. And so what else could she do? And then I guess she got addicted to locking up her own emotions and other people's emotions. It's like, oh, I can stop sadness in the world by just absorbing everybody's emotions into these jars. Yeah, so then he's like, no, he declines her help, and then he realizes his sister's upstairs. Well, I think he realizes Ku is upstairs. And that's when they run upstairs.
Oh yeah. And then that's where they find Saoirse, and she's been partially turned to stone as well. Let's see. And at this point, Saoirse is just like, her hair has been turning white, and she is just completely like gray at this point. Let's see. So and then they escape from. They escape from Matcha.
Well, again, this is another sequence that was I really, really liked. Because he finds her, and then he gets Ku to sit on the trapdoor to stop him from coming through. Because Ku's up there with her for some reason. I guess for the sake of story. Anyway, but Matcha at this point is like still chasing Ben, and Ben is like, no, he keeps imploring her, like, please just help us, we need to get the Selkie out of here, and then we can send everybody back home. And Matcha's like, no, I can stop sadness, I can stop, please just come through here. And then every time she gets too excited or too angry, she bottles up her emotions with a bottle, which could imply the pills that the grandmother was taking to also control herself. And so Ben helps her sort of start playing the conch shell. And
and that's how they break the jars, is because the
magic of the conch shell.
Yeah, because Ben can't break them by himself. Like, he tries to smash one on the ground, and it just sort of bounces.
Two was every time a glass jar broke, and then her emotions would flood back into her.
Yeah.
You know, and then she would then be overwhelmed with that emotion. So it's like a storm cloud goes into it, and she's like, starts crying, and then like something else, like a rainbow flew into her, and she's like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
But like again, the acting for the sequence and then the animation following it was so smooth, and it was very pretty.
Yes.
Like, I really liked that whole sequence too.
Yeah.
And then this brings Matcha back to her senses, and she's like, oh, now I'm going to help you.
Yes. Oh, yes, that's right.
I understand what I did wrong, and once she got sort of herself back in.
And she lets them go off, and she gets the help from the spirits of McAleer's dogs.
What are the dogs' names? Is it not said there?
No.
Because those were pretty cool dog names.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't know. I'm a little rusty on my Irish folklore. But using the help of McAleer's dogs and the help of Ku, they actually put the kids on the back of the dog, and
on the back of Ku, and then Ku gets the spirits of these dogs, and then he can like run as fast as the wind.
Yeah.
And basically that's what he does. He just runs across the hillside, and this is the sequence I was talking about in the previous cast, where I just again, this is so beautiful. Like the whole sequence of just them running over the hillside, running past buildings, and then the two dogs. I don't know why, but it just filled me. I loved it. It just made me smile.
Yeah, it was.
Even though Saoirse's in dire trouble.
Yeah, it felt very Miyazaki-ish, that whole thing with Matcha. Pretty much from Matcha, the scene with Matcha and Ben up until the end of McAleer's dogs felt very Miyazaki to me.
It was very, well, again, it's very Fable-esque, and I mean, Miyazaki's stories or anything, they're very fabled.
Yeah.
If you can use it in that term. My fable is now a verb. I've been fabled. But yeah, it definitely does separate itself from the rest of the movie, whereas the movie up to this point, even with meeting with the fairy folk in that little corner, going to the sacred well, again, it becomes this very fairy tale kids imagination sequence. You know, for all you know, they could have just been on the bus the whole time there. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that the dad did see the ending bit with her, like, you know, seeing the spirits flying away and the sulky transformation sequence, like, I would say this was just a kid's dream sequence.
Yeah.
Or fantasy, at least.
Yeah. I could see that could be a very interesting take on it. I can see someone writing a creepypasta about it.
What have you done?
Excuse me, I'm not the one...
Once you say it, it exists. Creepypasta or things on the internet are like the Schrodinger's cat. The moment you say it, it exists, and now you've created it.
Okay.
What have you done? Don't think about anything, otherwise the internet will it into existence.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, for the record, I like creepypasta. But there are a lot of coma and...
I like good creepypasta.
I like good
That's very few and far in between.
Yeah. It's really hard to do a good coma theory creepypasta.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're all actually dead creepypasta. Very few I like.
That seems to be the go-to. It's either everybody's dead or everybody is mentally insane.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not what we're here to...
Yes.
It's not creepypasta cast. Which would be a very interesting podcast, actually. I wonder if there's something like that.
I mean, there's podcasts of people reading creepypastas.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant. I guess that is there. Well,
there's I could direct you to easily 5 channels.
Well, you can put that on the top 5 things Emily likes to listen to podcast.
Anyway, so, yeah, they go back to the island.
Just so everybody knows, I'm from South Africa and we speak sarcasm as a second language, so...
Yeah, I've just decided to give him a look and move on. I love you too.
it's just. I always remember when my sister got back from London.
Oh yes.
And like me and my dad were just talking shit, and she's like, she'd come back after 6 weeks, and she's like, "You guys are so mean." But the funny thing is, like, she could keep up with us before she had left, and then when she gets to London, everyone's, I guess, nice to each other, and she comes back, and then me and my dad are just so nasty. Like, we're not nasty, we're just joking. I mean, just haha. But like, until she said it, like, we didn't even realize we were being, I guess, mean. And then I come here and I just say my whatever. I just talk to fair people like I talk to people, and everyone's like, "Geez, dude, you're kind of mean." And I'm like, "What?" Anyway.
Well, this is also Canada.
The land of the polite man.
Yes. Anyway, so they make it back to the island, but the dad sees that Saoirse is, like, deathly ill at this point. You know, what turned into a cold looks like it's pneumonia, almost. So they put Ben and Saoirse on a boat, and, because they would need to get Saoirse to the hospital.
Yeah.
And, like, Ben's insisting, "No, Dad, we really need to go get Saoirse's coat." And eventually, after a build-up, he yells that he threw it to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
To which Ben finally takes off his life vest and goes to dive for the coat, much to his father's dismay.
Of course. Well, I mean, you don't want your kid jumping into the ocean, especially during a storm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he, with the help of the seals, he finds the coat. And they're able to break it open. They give it to Saoirse. They go to the island where the giant man was fabled to live.
Here.
Yeah, because...
Well, not to live. That's where he turned into stuff.
Yeah, that's where
what the mountain is named after.
Yes. And so... And this is the climax that I was talking about. Just the build-up to this climax, you know, what with the dog running, and then they go in the ocean, and Ben has to get over his fear of water... specifically ocean water.
Yeah, but the sense of urgency definitely increases steadily, and like not in a way that I guess makes you like nervous. There's a bit of word for anxious. As a viewer, like you're like, "Oh, this is a really exciting story, and I can't wait to see." Because, but I don't know. Like maybe I could also just be jaded because of how many things I watch. But I never felt that the girl was genuinely going to die. You know, like, but I've lost that sense of urgency a long time ago because I understand in storytelling, like especially movies, who needs to survive. Like you start picking up the patterns, and it's obvious that she's not going to die. So I never get that sense of urgency, but I do allow myself to enjoy the adventure. And
well, it's not that I felt that she was gonna die. It was
well, that's what I'm saying. But okay, so then you felt it too. It never felt so anxious. Like I was, as a viewer, I was not anxious that she was going to die, but I was looking forward to him getting the coat. You know,
it was like, I mean, obviously her health was deteriorating, and obviously as the film goes on, the urgency gets greater and greater. I don't know, maybe it was just because it was a kid's film, they couldn't, like, oh no, Saoirse's...
Well, did you not feel any sense of urgency then? Because I felt the sense of urgency was there by increasing the tempo of what the kids needed to do. And that's why I said I could fall into the adventure and enjoy it, but I just haven't, because like I know when a character is pronounced dead, I can usually tell when they're not going to die, because I understand the importance that they are in the film. So I don't usually, like, I can sometimes tell, like, oh, okay, I guess they'd need to die, or I guess they wouldn't need to die. You know, it's.
I don't remember honestly now.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's. But the build-up is very nice up to this point.
Yeah.
Ben dives, gets the sulky coat with the help of the seals. They bring him the key very conveniently. But I guess they would help because they've been helping in other ways, in their own way. He gets the coat, puts the coat back on Saoirse, and then magic sequence happens.
Oh yes, and this was... I absolutely fell in love with the sequence, just because the build-up to it was so lovely. You know, it wasn't like this anxious, like, oh no, everyone in the world's gonna die. It's just kind of like, we understand why this is important, but then you see all of the spirits, as it were, of the fairy folk, and they fly up into the sky. And
I love the sequence, it's so beautiful.
Oh gosh, and you hear her singing, and there's just this swelling of the orchestra and the music, and, you know, she's singing her Song of the Sea. You know, the first time that she's spoken, you know.
Now, why does she have to do it, and why couldn't her mom do it? And did she have to do it at that particular time? Why couldn't she do it earlier?
Well, she couldn't do it... Wait, what do you mean?
Well, okay, let's first establish, like, why couldn't the mom sing the Song of the Sea? Like, you see, this is not established. Like, why did it have to be Saoirse?
I think, like, because I remember there was a tiny explanation at the end, because remember the mom appears in front of them again, and she has to basically say... She basically says that she was sleeping. I don't know, maybe it has something to do with the Selkie, you know, because the mom's sleeping. Because maybe it's because there wasn't the urgency there was when, you know, the fairy folk were dying, but it wasn't like, oh, we're gonna be dead soon. I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
No, I don't think there was anything established. I think this is just a case of story needed to be told. And so there's plot holes, obviously. But these plot holes aren't important enough to completely dismiss the story.
Yeah.
I just thought of it now. I just didn't understand why could the mom not sing? What was so special about Saoirse that she had to be the one who sang?
Well, it could be that, like, I don't know, maybe the fairy folk weren't, like, they weren't dying as frequently as, like, I don't know, maybe the urgency wasn't there when the mom was there?
But, I mean, the thing is, if she had sang the song when the mom was there, they would have all been taken home. Like, what I'm asking is, like, was there a specific time it had to happen? Like, if it was established that two Selkies had to do it, so that the mom came back and then sang with the daughter, I could understand it. But, you know, it's just like all of a sudden everything's put onto this little girl, and she just, you know, it's like, why is Saoirse the chosen one, is what I'm asking. Why is she the chosen one?
I don't...
Yeah, that's not explained, so it doesn't matter. That doesn't destroy the story.
Yeah. All I know is that
It
Saoirse...
was a nitpick I just thought of now.
Dang it, Leslie, I'm too tired to fight you right now.
I'm not fighting, I was just...
Anyway, I just but like you said, it's like plot holes that I don't know. I chalk it up to, I don't know, it's fairy folk. They understand something we don't.
Yeah. Again, I guess you could, take the easy way out and be like, it was a fable that needed to be told.
Yeah, and maybe the mom needed to do something, and Saoirse was just the only Selkie left.
It's not explained.
Yeah.
I thought maybe there was something I missed, but it's definitely not explained.
Well, you've seen it twice, so,
Well, I never said to critique it before.
I don't know.
No yawning on the podcast.
It's like 2 a.m.
No behind the scenes.
Yes. Also, I've been sick. Excuse me.
No behind the scenes. Shh. Okay, well, anyway, this whole movie ends with this amazing Northern Lights-esque sequence. The designs, like the spirits of the fairy folk, like lifted up, very Norse, more Norse-like than Irish. I felt, like it just looked like this army of Norse creatures, Norse heroes. Just the design reminded me of more of a Norse design than anything else. But yeah, it looked cool, and I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really know what more else to say about it other than it looked nice. It's nice. The story ends. Mom says, okay, she'll leave Saoirse behind. She doesn't have to follow. Again, I don't know why all the fairy folk had to go home. To wherever home it needed to be.
It's actually not an uncommon trope, I find, is that, like, the fairy folk need to go home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to... I don't know. I'm sure there's another story out there. I'm just not thinking of it right now. But I swear I've seen another story where it's like, oh, all the magical creatures have to go home now. Dang it.
It does sound familiar. Okay, so it ends, and then it's Ben's next... the end sequence is pretty much it's Ben's next birthday, and the family's all happy together. Grandma comes to visit. She's also happy that the family's happy.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like want to break them apart anymore, because I guess the husband's gotten over it. Or the dad. And, and then as you said, Saoirse smashes Ben's face into the cake. Or smushes, not smashes. Smushes his face into the cake, and they all have a hearty laugh. And
yeah. Because when Saoirse did it, it wasn't out of...
No, it wasn't out of spite.
Yeah,
anger.
It was out of, like, oh, haha, I'm being a brat.
Yeah, remember that thing you did? I'm going to do it too.
Yeah.
And then they have, like, the photos that's all, oh, yes, haha, for happy family.
Yeah.
So, nice, happy ending. I mean, I don't know what the moral of the story really is. Doesn't really have a moral.
I don't think so. No, I don't know.
It's not
I think
like you
it's...
listen to your fairy sister, because...
I think it's... I don't know. I guess maybe just don't hold on to old grudges and... I don't know. That's... I don't know if there is a moral, but...
How are the kids going to learn if there are no morals?
I think it's mostly... It's a fairy tale. That's what it is.
That's
it's a fun fairy tale.
Well, as I said, it's a fable that's there to entertain.
Yeah.
It's a story told over a campfire.
Yeah. It's a story passed down from the generations and eventually compiled into a movie.
A warm light for all of mankind to surround.
Yes.
Well,
I'm done gushing over it.
Yeah, so that's Song of the Sea in some sort of nutshell. Like a really, really big nutshell.
Yeah. I would probably have done a better job if I hadn't been sick all week.
No worries. I think you got out what you needed to get out.
Yes.
Again, if you only heard this one and not the other one, I would say go watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Emily still agrees with her previous
I do.
rating.
I did have the nitpick after I got out of the film too, but it wasn't enough to it wasn't enough to ruin it for me.
No, there's nothing about this film I don't like other than my little plot hole nitpicks, and those again to me are just nitpicks.
Mm-hmm. I
appreciated it for the art, and that's definitely worth going to watch for.
Yes.
So yeah.
Bring the kids; they'll love it.
Yeah. Well, purchase it. I would really. I recommend this is easily a purchasable film that can go into a collection.
Oh, well, it's going into my collection. That's for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if you want to email us at theanonymousanimators@gmail.com, you can send requests or send corrections, send complaints, comments. I will read them, no matter how mean-spirited they are. That's a lie. I will not read really mean-spirited words. No swear words. This is a family-friendly podcast.
How many times have you said F?
Fudge? Refrigerator? Foley? Frederick?
Have a good night, folks.
Ciao.
Between the time between the pain from the shell, the song of the sea, neither quiet nor calm, searching for love again. Between the winds, between the waves, between the sands, between the shores, from the shell, the song of the sea, neither quiet nor calm, searching for love again. Between the stones, between the stones, between